do other minority groups owe to black people? And when I thought about that question and how I was going to answer it myself, I thought about, number one, the Trump white people that want nothing to do with black people. I don't feel like they owe us anything. Y'all don't owe us shit.
I like them. Be honest with the shit.
Be honest with the shit. Y'all don't fuck with black people. Okay,
right,
I can live my life knowing that you don't fuck with me. But the white people that gain success off of black people and black culture, I feel like owe us everything. And when I say everything, I don't mean everything, but
I mean everything.
I can't expect a white person or a Mexican person that, you know, does R&B, or somebody, Asian person that loves our fashion and, you know, profits off our fashion to give us everything. But I need you to have the knowledge that you are profiting off black culture and black things, and your whole existence is off of that. So when there are problems that come up in our community, I need you to stand up for us.
Period. I would.
So what do you guys think about that? What do they owe us? Let's go white people specifically, and then you can go into other minority groups after that. But what do white people owe the black liberation movement?
White people specifically?
Yeah, white people specifically.
White people specifically owe us everything.
I mean, you know, I'm going to switch my answer.
Over coughing like Cayman.
I know. I'm like, am I going to start coughing next? This is how we got COVID.
I feel like white people, they owe us everything. But when we start talking about just other people of color, I feel like it kind of just owe us like some sense of solidarity. Like when black people go out there and they say that we're trying to reclaim nigga, and we feel like only black people should say nigga, instead of fighting us on that front and trying to like state their opinions on why they should say nigga when they really have no connection to the word at all besides popular culture, that just leaves white people to sit back and look at us bickering and realize that we're never going to have no strong coalition that we need to really push forward any type of change. If we're bickering over little ass things like, I'm Mexican, I want to say the N-word. Like, first of all, why do you want to say that shit in the first place?
Because you want to be black?
Could you want to be black, or are you just so engulfed in the black culture? But regardless, you have no connection to that word outside of what you deem as popular. And I feel like that's why a lot of people who benefit from black culture really don't feel like they owe black people anything. It's because black culture has become so mainstream to the point where it's hard to differentiate what is just popular, what is pop culture versus what was stolen from black people. Because it's like you listen to this music or you see this fashion, it's like, okay, is that fashion or was that a product of black people who never got their respect or their popularity for it? They just kind of get it stolen and it becomes a part of culture. Because it's like, it seems like black culture is just U.S. culture, and they don't understand the line between U.S. culture, like fucking hot dogs and baseball, versus like what black people have built, and they kind of just put it all under one big sphere. And it's like, what do you mean I owe black people this and that? This is just what happens.
This is the norm.
This is just the norm. Yeah, because black culture is just the norm because that's how popular it is. It's a freaking international culture. So it's like, why would I owe you this and not this person doesn't owe you this? Right. So it's like saying, do people of color in the United States owe us the same thing that people from other countries will owe us who also benefit off of black culture, who are directly tied to us at all?
Hey, you smoked that, bro. You smoked that.
You know, loud pack.
I really think we just like with a light subject they skip in, seeing us laughing and shit right before a deep ass conversation. But I feel like that's a very interesting question, because I feel as if, and I'll continue saying this, I feel like a lot of people, not just white people, people who are like call themselves Americans owe black people a lot, because a lot of distinctions that are made in society, rather that be race, well, obviously race, we're talking about it, but class, education, where you live, health care, whatever, came from seeing how black people were treated and treating that next group slightly better, and then more and more better as you get closer to whiteness. And with that being said, I just feel as if when it comes to Black liberation and the civil rights movement and all that, we had groups that were connected when it was a time where it was brought up in the household, in the communities, where people of color knew the connections, like intersectionality kind of, or saw the similarities and can see the struggles, when poor white people could see the struggles, when Mexicans could see the struggles, when trying to think. Anyway, different groups of people saw the struggles and were able to band together. Like, we all saw Judas and the Black Messiah, and then we know Fred Hampton. We know, like, the FBI. That's what they were scared of. You feel me? And then I feel as if, like, throughout time, as people started becoming more scared or just trying to leave things how it was, that led to groups becoming distant and not really understanding that their liberation isn't going to come before the Black liberation, if that makes sense. Like, I'm trying to word it all together. So when it comes to, like, what is the role of other groups in Black liberation, I think it's just educating themselves on the similar struggles that their ancestors or their families had and the struggles of Black Americans, period. Because the struggle of Black people faced, no matter what point in time you look at, was a struggle every group faced at one point. And if you come from that and you see, like, how beautiful, maladjusted, I gotta point that out, Black people are, and unique in that sense, then it will allow different groups to understand and appreciate not only themselves, but just the way Black people had to become the liberators, not only of ourselves, but of other people. Okay, and not enough credit's due. And I think that just comes from, like I said, when we were all together or trying to get together and then broke apart, and then social media, education system not picking up, we don't know the history. So we don't really, it's easier to divide on things that we see day to day, like what we see in the news, what we see, like, learning in school. But when you really go back to, like, the people who are passionate and know, then that's when you see different groups coming together and realizing their struggle is the Black struggle.
Yeah, facts. And stick with that. Ooh, that was, see
y'all both cooked. I had to think about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But
what they were saying, you ate that, no crumbs left.
Shoot,
y'all cooked that.
Give me that.
Look, stick with that liberation of other people and other groups too, because I feel like the Black struggle and what Black people go through is a microcosm of kind of America and what other people go through.
Facts.
So it's like when Martin Luther King was out there and the white people were like, we hate you and we doing like this. And he said, how much do you make a year? And the white man told him, and he said, well, it looks like you need to be out here marching with me.
Facts. But that privilege,
exactly,
or the idea of race,
exactly,
is so powerful.
Our problems are a microcosm of what regular people go through every single day. So what's best for us? It should be in the best interest of every other minority group as well.
Exactly.
Except the ones that the whites kind of, cater to and say, oh, you're really not Black, so we're going to give you this benefit, versus you can have the whole pie if you team up with Black people. Yeah. You have this little bit of privilege because white people say, oh, you're not Black, but that's just a little bit, versus you banding with us, we changing everything, and now you have the whole piece of the pie, shit that we never even imagined we had before because you banded with us. But with that, I'm going to be our biggest critic as well and say that we can't go and ask other minority groups for help if we can't come together ourselves and help each other. So until that happens, until we're investing in Black dollars, until we have our shit together, fighting over the N-word versus amongst ourselves, like having little petty conversations amongst ourselves like that, we don't got time for that shit. Yeah. Republican, Democrat, fighting over that shit. Like, we do not have time for that. So why are you holding that party down as hard as you are? We have to be able to do this shit ourselves first in order to get other minority groups to say, hey, they got their shit together. Maybe we should join that powerful group. Because once we're together, we're as powerful as any other fucking group ever.
Exactly. And just outside of even just us Black people doing stuff for Black people, if we really want other people of color to kind of join arms with us, we can't be afraid or feel uncomfortable with banding with them as well. Like, if the the Latinas and Latinos are doing a march, you don't say, oh, well, what does that really have to do with me? It has everything to do with you.
Facts.
You go to that march, even with like, oh, LGBTQ plus they're doing something. Regardless, those are still your people too. They're just as niggas got problems too.
And let me say that. LGBTQ 5% of the population, but they got their shit together. They got legislation passed. They got shit like that. So black people would want to say, hey, let's have some fucking idea-based conversations with you guys, and how did you guys get past this, and this? Because obviously it's working for you, and it's not working for black people.
I feel like hold on. I need to
following,
but I feel like that also has a lot to do with, because being a part of the LGBTQ doesn't mean you're a part of one singular race. Like, it's black niggas that are gay. It's white people, Asians, Hispanics. They're all a part of that community. So when we're talking about you build a coalition that can really help you tremendously push things forward, just being a part of the LGBTQ is already a coalition in itself. So now they have people from all parts of the spectrum telling their community what needs to happen, telling their community what needs to happen. So now they really have the blacks and the Asians and the Mexicans banding together, but in that instance, they're banding together for the singular, just for like LGBTQ. Now, if we can get that same type of energy going to helping out all of our racial ethnic groups, we can probably see the same instrumental change that LGBTQ has seen. Like KaBria was saying, like, if we get them to join us, we need other people of color to come and join our side, come to our marches, come to our protests. We need to do that same thing for them as well.
Were you gonna say anything?
Which I agree, but I feel like in the same thing that happened with LGBTQI community, you feel me, is the same thing that kind of happened with the feminist movement, in the sense where the people of each community that was closer to white standards.
That's a point right there.
You feel me? It's white supremacy, wherever you want to put it, usually leads those movements. And it's so, like, we're saying, like, LGBTQI plus community has made a lot of legislation, but there's still a lot of issues that face black members of that community that have not been addressed, because it's been white, like,
veered by white people, and those white women were doing back in those days. So it was pick the niggas or pick that, and you're going to pick the white women because they're still closer to you in the white supremacy. Like, we can still kind of control them.
Of race is just so powerful. And so I feel as if, like, we do have to keep that in mind, because it's like, when it comes to banding together, that's why I think one of the important parts of what I had said was, you have to recognize and realize the struggles of the group that struggles the most, in order for you to kind of, like, humble and understand where you have to go. Because you can't sit here and say you're fighting for a movement, you want to do better and do this, but you're not addressing members of that community that's doing worse. And so I think we just have to be mindful of that too. Like we say, bond together, but form together, whatever, I don't know how to say it. But, like, I do want to say, like, I do think that's important for different groups to show up and march and do that. For some reason, I just feel like when it comes to supporting black issues, it seems to be a little bit more political, a little bit more dangerous. So
always.
It's hard to get
controversial.
That yeah.
For some reason.
Because we could see even on TV, the Black Lives Matter versus the Asian Lives Matter, and just the reactions to that alone. But that, like I said, comes from black people being the point that elevated other groups, if that makes sense. So it's like, target Black Lives Matter, this is horrible, but uplift Asian Lives Matter, which is like, on the surface, you would think like the same thing and should have the same reaction. But when you understand the role black people play, just the word black, just the opposite of white in a society based on race, then you can fully understand, like, the bigger picture. And just, dissect it more. That's why, I don't know. Like, that's all I have to say about that.
And I feel like that's where, like, education comes into play. Like, those type of things should be exclusively taught, not exclusively, but should be taught in schools, because
sometimes exclusively.
Yeah, because once you get to a certain age and you're not really economically affluent, you kind of just don't have the time or the energy to go out of your way and start doing research on your own. And that's why it's important to get them while they're young.
Right.
And when they're in the school system, because not everybody's going to go to college and specifically take those classes to learn more about other people. That's why they need to be requirements. Like, just as much as learning a foreign language is a requirement in school.
Facts.
To learn about the people. Because why would you not want to learn more about the people who you're constantly surrounded by?
Right, that's weird because you think your version.
Yeah, because if you know why black people do this or why Mexican people celebrate this or do this, you'll be less kind of like concerned or caught off guard when those things come around because you really don't know why now because you weren't taught that reason. But then you're just constantly surrounded by those people.
Yep, white people understand your privilege. Asians understand why you wear Air Force Ones and break dance. Like, you need to know that Nelly was out there.
You nigga was Nelly 1 year for Halloween, bro.
You need to... Bruh, y'all don't give Nelly the respect he deserves, bro. Nobody gives Nelly the respect he deserves.
My auntie loves Nelly. She gives her respect.
Who don't like Nelly?
Exactly. Mexicans understand.
He even had me listen to country for a little bit.
Oh, Florida Georgia Line? First of all, Florida
saying.
Georgia Line by themselves sold it down. But
That's
Nelly
what I'm
didn't
saying. Nelly a Hall of Famer, but anyway. Understand why you wearing them Air Force Ones, bro. You breakdancing. Like, just understand where the shit you're doing comes from, bro. It's important because when I look into another culture, I'm like, oh, they do that. It's pretty dope. But I now understand why y'all do some shit that I'd be like, we don't do that at my house. I don't know why y'all do that, but we don't do that at my house. But it's understanding that that's a cultural thing that they do and accepting that. Like, we all have to live here together. And let's accept one another for who we are. That sounds so easy, but it's so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always easier to be ignorant.
Oh, shoot, facts.
That is true.
Because at times it does take some energy to learn. It's like, do I want to read this book or I just want to act like I don't know when I know?
Ooh.
Yep.
Damn.
Sometimes niggas are just ignorant.
Yeah, just ignorant. And I did have a quote. I'm just going to throw it in there. So.
Oh, okay. Go.
But this is by not Malcolm. Oh, I wish it was a little bit more peaceful. But it was by Martin Luther King Jr. And it says, in the end, we remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. And I thought that is well, when I first heard it, I didn't even know he had said that. But when I heard it when they were doing the recognition from MLK Jr. Day, I don't know, like, to me, that was a quote that really moved me in a sense where if you're in certain environments and rooms where decisions are made and you claim that you're a friend of whatever, we'll say black people because this is a black podcast, and you're silent in a room where your voice matters even more, you're not a friend, period. Well, it's like some fake enemy type shit. But anyway, with that being said, I just feel that was just super interesting and thought-provoking that he said that. And that's why I have to go and revisit a lot of things Martin Luther King Jr. said and the connections, obviously, not just race, because, you know, he was really big on making sure, like, class and, like, the military and, like, terrorism. He was, like, big on hella shit, but then would teach us about race. But just to reread it and just dive deeper. Like, and that's something I do randomly, random facts. Something I do like every 2-3 years is just re-expose myself to certain like readings or like documentaries or something that move me and just see like as the years went by, my understanding of life changed or through experiences, how would I interpret that now type of thing. But with that being said, I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah. I like that MLK Jr. quote. I can't wait.
Shout out Milk.
I'm going to tell y'all, next episode, we got something cooking. Now, I don't like to, you know, we got Kobe LeBron or Kobe versus Mike, you know, like that. We're pitting two legends together, but we're going to have the first ever versus with MLK versus Malcolm X, you know. We're going to see who's more relevant today, who's teaching, who had more impact, stuff like that. KaBria's going to go home and research all she can on Malcolm X.
I already know.
I'll do my research on MLK, and then you're going to be the judge.
Yeah, I'll be the judge, because you already know I'm more with Malcolm anyway.
So you are. I'm already in a losing effort.
Or how about we switch? You have to do research on Malcolm X, and I'll do research on Martin Luther, and then we can argue. I really like autobiography.
But I know Malcolm too. I know Malcolm too.
But you're more aligned with Martin Luther.
I just think he had a better impact. Exactly. He had more impact.
You're more on his side.
You think he had a better impact than Malcolm?
Yeah, y'all should swap.
See, that's interesting. Why do you think? Because
say
obviously
it
Martin
for-
Luther
say
King
it for
was
the-
easier for white people to fucking.
That's why I
deal
think he
with
had a better impact.
after death.
And he was also really watered down.
After death.
He was a lot more radical than white people let us know. In the
Oh,
textbooks.
100%.
Facts. But anyway, yeah, we can do that. Let's switch. Because I do know a lot about Martin Luther King because my one
switch.
professor.
I like that.
Yeah. And then we can just argue.
Okay.
Little reverse.
Boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right,
Thought
go
you
ahead
were
and
gonna come in quick.
send us out, Xavier Rivers.
This has been the Rising Podcast. This has been the Rising Podcast. I want to give a shout out to the Honorable Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Martin Luther King,
Oh,
the Honorable Malcolm X,
okay.
and we will see y'all next time. Peace out. And like my boy
Deuces.
from One on One would say, flat out.